Most of you aren't subscribed. Make sure to subscribe, as it helps out the channel. Without further ado, kicking off the anime, we start in a world dependent on magic, where travel is done by brooms and objects can levitate and be created from magic. Since magic was believed to be a gift from God, people's futures are predetermined by their magic capabilities. But as we dive deep into a forest, we see our MC nonchalantly working out. In a hut in the forest, we see an old wizard, Regro Berndeed, who lives with his strong son, Mash Berndeed, capable of tearing down the hut's door. As Regro scolds Mash for being so heavy-handed, Mash apologizes for destroying his father's home, offering to fix things. Happy to see his son take responsibility for his actions, Regro only grows more frustrated when he spots his son attempting to pound the door back into position, ultimately snapping the door into pieces. Moving on to another topic, Mash reports that he's finished his assigned workout for the day, but wonders why he has to constantly improve his physical body. Regro dreads having to explain that Mash has no magic powers, instead states that he needs to head somewhere. Before Regro leaves, Regro warns Mash to never leave the hut nor venture into town. As Regro leaves, Mash suddenly pulls out a flyer, beginning to sprint towards the town, stating that his hunger is more important than his father's warning. With his hood up, Mash struts through town, spotting all sorts of townsfolk using magic, but Mash notes how most things can still be done without magic. Spotting what he came into town for, Mash heads to a sweet store, asking for 7 cream puffs, accidentally handing the cashier some crumpled coins. Apologizing for getting too excited, Mash nonchalantly straightens out the bent coins, shocking the cashier with his monstrous strength. Before Mash can leave, his hood suddenly flies off, revealing his face and terrifying the townsfolks, but before anyone can say anything, Mash leaves. Elsewhere at a police station, we see a blonde police officer reading up on a second-year student of the Easton Magic Academy, Rain Ames, receiving the title of Divine Visionary. Due to the new title, Rain will be promoted to a noble along with 1 billion Lond coins and further rewards. Jealous of Rain's life, the police officer turns his attention to a man that had been arrested for stealing, but before the police officer can silence the criminal, he gets a report of an unmarked person spotted in town. Back with Mash, he continues to walk through town, nibbling on his cream puffs and wondering what his father's warning would have meant. Just then, Mash accidentally bumps into a drunk police officer, who begins blaming and scolding Mash for his boring and underpaid job as an officer. Attempting to mend the situation, Mash offers the police officer a cream puff, but the drunk officer believes Mash is looking down on him, knocking the cream puff Mash was eating out of Mash's hands. Confused as to why the police officer is still yelling, Mash tears off the police officer's clothes, offering to clean and return the clothes, but this only freaks out the officer. Just then, Brad, the blonde police officer, appears, calling out to the drunk officer, Terry, asking Terry to explain himself. Upon laying eyes on Mash, Brad realizes that the kid is strange, as Mash is stuffing his face with cream puffs. Before Brad can ask Mash any questions, Regro appears, grabbing Mash, only to disappear. Seeing as this may be his opportunity to be promoted, Brad takes out his wand, summoning a bird to follow after Regro and Mash. Back at the hut, Regro scolds Mash for disobeying his orders, but when Mash apologizes, Regro can't help but ease back on his words. As punishment, Regro states that Mash is to repeat his training from this morning, but before Mash leaves, he hands his remaining cream puffs to Regro. Thinking about how old Mash is now, Regro believes that they'll have to move to avoid people from discovering Mash, but just then, the police break into Regro's hut, demanding to know where Mash is. Cutting to Mash, we see that he's able to blitz through his workout in 5 minutes, returning back to the hut, but before he enters, Mash overhears several police interrogating his father. Brad states that people without magic are considered useless in society, so it's the police's job to get rid of them. As Brad attempts to torture Regro to get him to reveal where Mash is, Regro refuses, forcing Brad to further torture Regro. Apparently, Regro himself had always had a weak affinity for magic as well, being shunned and ostracized his entire life due to his lack of magic affinity. One night whilst Regro decided he would take his own life, he was suddenly stopped, discovering Mash as a baby, giving Regro a reason to live once more. With Brad continuing to threaten Regro, Regro cries for Mash to flee and leave him, but this allows Brad to deduce that Mash is nearby. As Brad continues to kick Regro in the stomach, Regro attempts to grab hold and stall Brad, but seeing that the old man is useless, Brad begins casting a spell. Just then, Mash smashes through the front entrance, instantly knocking one of the 3 officers down. Following up, Mash grabs a hold of the drunk officer from before, slapping him silly, only to toss him aside as well. Wondering why Mash is still here, Regro hears that Mash had heard everything, but even still Mash refuses to leave his one family member behind. Turning to Brad, Mash states that he'll be sending Brad to hell, but Brad puts on a smirk, revealing that he used to be a security officer for the Bureau of Magic. With Mash standing in Brad's way, Brad begins channeling a powerful spell, a spell that supposedly scared off a powerful dragon. Unleashing his Nalkampa spell, Brad is in disbelief, having just spotted Mash slapping the spell into the ground. Casting an even greater spell, Brad unleashes his Nalkampa Diagoras spell, but Mash easily redirects the spell with his hand, slapping it away. With each successive cast, Brad watches as Mash toys with his magic projectiles, messing around with them as if they were physical playing balls. Completely frozen in shock, Brad watches as Mash reaches down, grabbing a hold of Regros's wand. Believing that Mash had been hiding his magic power all this time, Brad conjures up a powerful spell shield, capable of blocking most magical spells, but out of nowhere, Mash tosses Regro's wand through Brad's spell shield, instantly shattering the shield. Falling to his knees in complete shock, Brad admits that he has never seen someone like Mash before, which makes Regro proud as the physical training is serving Mash really well. Coming up with an idea, Brad states that in exchange for leaving Regro and Mash alone, he asks that Mash join a magic academy. Brad intends to have Mash gain the title of Divine Visionary, where Mash will be seen as a god, and only then will Mash's magic less self be accepted and hopefully be able to change society. Sensing something off with the offer, Regro warns Mash to ignore Brad's words, but Brad adds that if Mash refuses, he along with the entire world will continue to hunt down magicless people like Mash, and as a result family members of the magicless like Regro would be harmed as well. With Brad offering to help aid Mash through school, Mash has no other choice, hence beginning his journey through magic school. Check out one of our other videos on the screen or in the info card above. Subscribe, like and comment.